All right, today, this is lesson 4. We're going to be talking about distribution of data and more specifically what a normal distribution is. So a normal distribution is perfectly symmetrical. So if you think of these as being a bar graph, it's perfectly symmetrical on either side. Sometimes you'll also hear people refer to this as a bell curve. And what else is really interesting that happens in a normal distribution is our mean and our median are the same. So there were cases as we worked through data where they ended up being the same. There's also cases where your mean, it might have an outlier that's small, so your mean's smaller than your median. You might have an outlier that's big, so your mean is larger than your median. But in a normal distribution, they're the same, meaning you don't have any outliers to kind of sway you one way or the other. Also, your mode would be the same as your mean and your median because that's your tallest point. It's going to have the most data right in the center at your mean. This symbol right here is for mean if you've never seen it before. And then, of course, yesterday we talked about this is your standard deviation symbol. We like normal distributions because they tend to pop up a lot in statistics. So I have a list over here. It says many things closely follow a normal distribution. Heights of people, size of things produced by machines, errors in measurements, blood pressure, marks on a test. A lot of things tend to fall into these normal distributions. So let's go ahead and talk about standard deviation. So here it says in a normal distribution, approximately 68% of data falls within one standard deviation from the mean. So that's what this is saying. If I add these two 34s together, 68% of my data is going to be in this very center of my bell curve. All right? If I go 2 standard deviations away and I start to include these 13.5%, that would be 95% of my data. And then if I can keep adding my 2%, that would give me 99% of my data is in 3 standard deviations of our mean. And that's what it's saying here. 1 standard deviation to the right and left, 2 to the right and left, 3 to the right and left. So all but 1% of our data falls within that 99% of our mean. So here it says the grades of a statistics midterm are normally distributed with a mean of 81 and a standard deviation of 5. So it says draw and label the normal distribution curve. All right, so I went ahead and I borrowed the one from above and I moved it down here, but it says you want a mean of 81, and in the first standard deviation, since each of them are 5, then you'd have 86% and 76%. So between one standard deviation, 68%, this is saying 68% of our students that took this test had between a 76 and an 86. And then another standard deviation away, I can add 5 again and subtract 5 again. 95% of our students got between a 71 and a 91. And then if I do it one more time, I have a 66 and a 96. Now we're saying 99% of students got between a 66 and a 96. So that's how we're labeling our curve. We put the mean in the middle, and then standard deviations you can just add and subtract on either side to find. So it says what percent of the data falls between 76 and 86%? That would be 68% of our data because that's 1 standard deviation, and it will always be 68. We're just using the fact that we put up here. So 68 is between 1, 95 is between 2, 99 is in between 3. Okay, so we're not doing anything to calculate that 68%. That's just our fact of our normal distribution. What percent of data falls between 71 and 91? So that's 2 standard deviations. That would give us 95%. What percent of the data falls between 81 and 91? So that's just this section here. 81 and 91 would give us, if I added 34 and 13.5, would be 47.5, or half of 95. And what percent of data is less than 96? So less than 96 would be all but that 0.5%. So 99.5%. All right. So then this page is for you to practice on your own with 1, 2, and 3, and then there's a forum for you to check your answers. And then lesson 5, there's not a video for it. It's just miscellaneous practice questions. You've already seen all of the content, so there is no video for lesson 5. But at the very bottom of lesson 5, after the 12th question, there is a form for you to check those 12 answers as well.